right. Well, welcome to 1 Million Cups Columbus. Thank you for joining us for wherever your office or kitchen, living room, whatever you call the working place these days. So today we're going to be joined by Claire Coder with Ant Flow. So we will get in to chatting with her here soon. So, but normally this takes place in person. So we wanted to, this is our normal agenda. What we go through, explain a little bit about 1MC. So before we get into that, we'll just kind of network here. So if you are on the Zoom call, feel free to unmute and just tell us who you are, where you're watching from, and, a brief 10, 15-second overview of what you do on a daily basis. So I cannot.
Yeah, let's start with Andrew Cohn.
So I'm one of the organizers for the Cleveland 1 Million Cups, and we've been fortunate to be able to plug into Columbus for the last month or so, and we really appreciate it. And I spend most of my time lately on making sure the Ohio primary takes place, or in this case, took place.
Yeah, congrats on the effort. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Big night last night.
All right, Jim Gray.
All right.
Introduce yourself.
Jim Gray, JPG Advisors. I am a member of the Cleveland Million Cups. My business is I'm an operations strategist, solution provider. What's been keeping me busy, I've actually been working with a lot of companies with the financing for the PPP and the idle loan products from the SBA, sort of a side thing for me. But I do have most of my operations people are sort of slow right now, but a lot of them working on the recovery.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Joe Jaradovac.
Hey, good morning, all. Joe Jaradovac with WillowWorks. My background is product design, product development, project management, and we support startups both locally and around the country.
Nice. Glad you're here. Julia. Actually, no, Julia, we're going to skip you and come back to you in just a minute. Sorry. You're an organizer. Brian Gintz, it's good to see your face, actually.
Yeah. Brian Gintz. I have a small development firm here in Columbus. We do primarily mobile apps. We work a lot with Flutter and Firebase, a couple of newish technologies, and like to specialize on early prototypes or rapid MVP type projects, but also do full-blown apps. But most of the people we talk to want to start small, so we're trying to target those guys.
Glad you're here. Jason Nami, it's good to see you again. Jason, can you unmute?
Okay, how's that? Good morning, everybody. I'm Jason Nami. I am the owner of LifeSys IT. I provide managed networking for businesses, small and medium businesses, and IT and communication consulting. Glad to see everybody here this morning.
Glad you're here. Marie Young.
Hi, I'm Marie Jung. I'm the founder of the Period Project at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. And I'm a big fan of Ant Flow's work, and so that's why I'm tuning in today. So what I do is I'm working on using survey research and collaboration with my school's administration to provide free and sustainable access to menstrual products in the bathrooms on our campus. And I'm really excited because the research that we're doing hasn't really been done on a scale that we're doing it before. And we're really interested in publishing that so that other schools can use that as evidence that this is a need on academic campuses.
Awesome. I like SMU. Sorry, going down the list. All right, Daryl Walton. Good to see you back again.
Great to be here.
You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry, I just joined in. I didn't know for introductions. My apologies. Yes, I'm Daryl Walton. I am the Jeff and Cynthia Harris Fellow at the Ohio State Entrepreneur Business Law Clinic. We are a pro bono law clinic that assists nonprofits, small businesses, and entrepreneurs in the Columbus area.
Awesome. And Daryl provides a lot of expertise in the form of talks to 1MC, so it's a great partner with us. SJ, good to see you again.
Likewise, thank you. Today we'll focus on one of my two ventures, so the next time I sign on, we'll do the other one. So I'm SJ, it is my name, it's not initials. I am a super connector, I'm a futurist, and I am business development for half of Columbus, the northern half for the H7 Network, h7network.com. We are a collaborative membership community. We are not a networking group. We are not a lead gen referral group. And we host all sorts of different kinds of entrepreneurs, sales pros, and business development folks. And we create new opportunities and we create new win-win relationships every time we meet.
Awesome. Glad you're here.
Look like trips to Tahiti.
Hanging out in Tahiti. That's right. I love it out here. I didn't miss the last flight off the island.
Nice. Let's see. Katie Moon, also from Cleveland.
Things are going well. Been pretty busy. I have a web design company, and clients that are on pause are actually coming back, so that's a good sign.
Very good. That's awesome. Let's see. Madison. Okay, that's okay. Kendra's iPhone. It's okay, and if you don't want to introduce yourself, that's perfectly fine. I think we got a pretty full room. All right, so Steve, I'll go ahead and turn it back to you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So yeah, well, thank you, everyone from wherever you're joining us from. We appreciate it. And for those watching live on Facebook, we've got some views happening there. So thanks for taking your morning and joining us. So as we said, so this is 1 Million Cups Columbus. Normally this would be a in-person event, but just like the rest of the world, we have gone virtual and taken this time to adapt to the times. So normally we do network in person and we meet every Wednesday at 9 a.m. So in Columbus, it takes place at the main Columbus Metropolitan Library downtown Columbus, and then we do some roadshow events during the summer months just to get out to the different ecosystems that exist in Columbus. But being virtual allows us to have rock stars like Claire, who are usually way too busy building awesome brands and companies, join us. So this is a treat for sure. So for those that have never been to 1 Million Cups or heard of it, it is an organization that was founded by the Kauffman Foundation. So the Kauffman Foundation is one of the largest entrepreneurship endowments in the country, and they created this in 2012 as a grassroots effort to reach beyond the walls of what they currently were doing. So they were in a lot of institutions. You've probably seen the Kauffman Foundation studies out there on entrepreneurship and whatnot. And then they're out of Kansas City, so they're very much engaged in the local Kansas City ecosystem. But in 2012, they created it in an effort to reach out beyond those walls. We've got 182 cities now that have a 1 Million Cups. And some meet monthly, some meet weekly, but the premise is the same, is that you have an entrepreneur come in and tell their story. If you have entrepreneurs getting together over cups of coffee, you're going to share and learn from each other, and just get that awareness that every startup company, is looking for. So here in Columbus, we've got 4 organizers that are part of the team. So you heard from Mark. Mark is a founder at MailJive and has his own development work that he does. George is on the call, but he's taking care of kid duties as well today. So he is an entrepreneur and co-founder at the U, which is an accelerator and a resource center for entrepreneurs here in Columbus. And he has successfully exited a tech company grown it, scaled it, and then sold it. So provides a lot of resource and advice to those around them. And then myself, Steve Flaherty, so got a couple tech startups myself, and some lifestyle businesses that allow me to do those. And then Julia Gordon is one of our marketing whizzes around here, and is a freelance digital marketer. So that is the team here in Columbus. Feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. You can see our website if you go to 1millioncups.com and select the Columbus system. You can see when we meet, anything that's going on, and then follow us and sign up for our newsletters and whatnot. We do have a mobile app out there, so normally we'd ask you to all check in. Obviously, it's a little different, but there is a mobile app that allows you to stay engaged and get behind the scenes with our presenters and whatnot. And then our biggest thing is, we are only as big as our own personal and ecosystem networks. So this isn't owned by any entity. It's not ours. It's not mine, Mark's, Julia's, George's. This is a Columbus Communities organization. So we don't have a stake in anybody. Therefore, we are here to help and be a support mechanism for the community. So like us on Facebook, Twitter, Meetup, sign up for our email list, and feel free to share us with your friends. Feel free to grab screenshots and put them out there on social media, tag us. That's how we build and get this to more people so that they can listen to awesome people like Claire. So if you do want to be involved, we're always looking for people that want to be what we call caffeinator of the community, and we are looking for presenters at any given time. So feel free to, if you have a business idea or something yourself, go out and submit an application. It's a pretty easy 3-step process or 3-question process. So you submit there and we can schedule you for a presentation sometime, whether it's here or we can help you get in one of the 181 other cities during this time. It's pretty easy to globally or nationally present your company or idea at other 1MCs right now. So, and without further ado, I will turn it over to Claire, who's going to tell us about her story at AntFlow, what they've done, how they built it, just a brief overview, and then how they've reacted to Corona. And then I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of details in the Q&A. So without further ado, welcome to 1MC Columbus, Claire Coder from AntFlow. Take it away.
Woo, 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 woo. All right. So I feel like I've had at least 1 million cups of coffee this morning. And I'm so excited to see you all. And especially some of our friends that are tuning in from period chapters as well. It's always such a joy to hear from you. So yes, my name is Claire. I'm the founder and CEO of AntFlow. And I'll share a little bit of background, as Steve mentioned, about how we started and where we're going, and then obviously the agility necessary to keep running a company and what we've done in light of COVID-19. So a little bit of background. I founded AntFlow after getting my period in public without the supplies I needed. And it was actually at a startup weekend. Like, give me like a raise the roof. If you've been to a startup weekend, heard of startup weekend, yeah, some raise the roofs. If you haven't, it is a 54-hour hackathon, and you're there and you pitch an idea on Friday, and then by Sunday, you're supposed to have this like functional business. That's the whole idea. And so on Friday night, it was actually, I was actually at Cover My Meds for this startup weekend, and I got my period. And I was a $40 Uber ride from Ohio State. I was 18 at the time, and I was in college. And I'm in the bathroom, and this is a place that offers lunch and kayaks to float along the river with. And while I'm in the bathroom, they only had a coin-operated tampon and pad dispenser. And who the hell carries around quarters? And so I'm rummaging through my bags. Of course, I don't have quarters, so I do like most. I wadded up some toilet paper, walked out, went to the stage, and pitched the idea of how can we create a sustainable solution to ensure that people have access to necessities when they need them, tampons and pads. And so what we've done as a company over the past 3 years, right after that happening. I actually dropped out of Ohio State to go full in on this idea that I had. And that's a whole like other saga of a story. And if you're interested in that, happy to answer questions on what that looked like from going from college to dropping out to going all in. And I went all in to build what we have now. So we've been building now for about 3 years, and we're most known for our estrogen dispenser. So I'm gonna share my screen right now. And this is our website over here at AntFlow. So this is the dispenser that we've designed and developed over the past 3 years. It's uniquely designed to offer AntFlow's tampons and pads. Have some here, whoop whoop. And you press a button, you get a tampon, you have to wait 15 seconds before you can get the next one, or you can get a pad as well. So the benefit of this is now businesses and schools can offer menstrual products the same way they offer toilet paper and paper towels. They all respond to natural bodily functions. And you don't need to have a quarter, or you don't need to text something to like get access to these basic necessities. So this is what we've been building. And now I'm excited to say that over the past 3 years, we've gone through fundraising. We've raised $2.7 million, led by Harlem Capital in New York City with support from Precursor Ventures and Break Trail Ventures as well. So we've gone through the funding scenario, happy to answer questions about that as well. And now we've grown to support hundreds of companies across the United States and Canada. And we stock our menstrual products in all of Google North America, Twitter, Viacom, Princeton University, Penn State, some Texas universities, shout out to our period chapters there, all the way to middle schools and high schools. And what's been really remarkable about all of this, through this influx of communication and talking about things that are taboo, there are now 5 states that have passed legislation requiring middle schools and high schools to offer free menstrual products in their bathrooms. Now we're tuning in from Columbus. Ohio isn't one of them. Let's go Ohio. But what this means is now, we actually did a research study in New York City public schools, and by offering freely accessible menstrual products in the bathroom, it increased attendance by 2.4% amongst young girls. 2.4%, which sounds like a small amount, but if you think about the impact of education in young girls having the same opportunities that their counterparts have, it's extremely remarkable. And so now 5 states passed legislation requiring schools to offer these menstrual products, and we're incredibly thankful for the opportunity to be able to continue to be on the forefront of innovation to make sure more schools, businesses, small businesses, any place with women in a bathroom should have access to products. So that's our primary business model. And thinking about what has been going on as of recently, given that we sell to schools and businesses, about 2 months ago, we had to recognize that schools were closing and all of the businesses were remote. So we were going from a multi-million-dollar company to no revenue virtually in 30 days. Most of our customers are on reorder. So we called all of our customers, put our customers first and said, hey, if you want to hop off of reorder, we're here for you. We're here to support you. And all of them did. And so staring down the tunnel of, well, what the hell do we do now? That's when I really started thinking about how do we make sure that we leverage our resources that we have available to us. And about 9 months ago, we had already started thinking about some different industry plays for AntFlow. Now that we have direct relationships with facilities managers, how else can we support them? And what resources do we have? And we're most known for manufacturing Class 2 medical devices, AKA tampons, and FDA-approved products, AKA pads. And how could we leverage that to support this need for PPE? And so in almost 6 weeks ago now, we took a massive pivot and we wired all of our money in our bank account to our manufacturer that manufactures our pads. And started retooling some of our machines to start making FDA-approved 3-ply masks. As we hit capacity with that factory, we started finding additional factories that could be able to maintain our same quality for these masks. And now I'm thankful to say that we've now shipped over 10 million, manufactured 10 million masks, shipped 6 million of them so far to folks in need. We support the state of Michigan, Dominion Energy, all of Veterans Affairs, and I'm incredibly grateful to have the opportunity to leverage our resources and respond to this demand. And what this has spiraled into, we were planning to launch this in Q4 of this year, but that is workflow. So at AntFlow, workflow, haha, you got to keep your office flowing. That is our subsidiary brand to AntFlow. And at Workflow, we have the same values that we do at AntFlow: approachability, accessibility. How do we make things fun that are not necessarily fun? And how do we maintain the quality, but also maintain cost for our buyers? So as you've seen, we have launched this new website, ppewithastory.com, and you can check it out. This is where we have our masks, sanitizers, and additional products in line with our mission. So that is what we've been doing for the past 4.5 weeks, obviously rapidly adjusting to the situation and really focusing on how can we make sure that with our buying power and capacity, how can we keep supporting our local businesses? And so we recently launched a partnership with Point. Madison McHale Bush is the founder, another Columbus-based badass female founder. And with them, we are donating 100,000 masks to our community, to people in need. So if you're looking to also make an impact as well, you can donate there. And we've also partnered with Homage. So for every reusable mask that they sell, they're donating a mask to this campaign as well. So we always say at AntFlow, we're people helping people, period. And that's what we're doing as we continue to grow and expand. So that's a little bit about the high level of AntFlow, where we started, and also how we've been responding to the need. And And thank you all for joining me for 1 Million Cups. I'm happy to answer questions, diving in to areas that you're most interested in, whether it be fundraising, 0 to 1, supply chain, logistics, response to COVID, what does it look like, all of those things. So that's what I have for you all this morning.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's quite a journey, from the start in the infancy from problem recognition to fulfilling the need, and then to what every founder, I guess, fears, but yet embraces, right? The good founders can take a look at what they have available to them and adjust and pivot. So on a whim. So congratulations on that, because that is not always easy to do and to recognize. So kudos. But the growth journey, for you, obviously. So you started 18. So when you started, so 18,
yes, 18.
to raising money and everything. How I'm interested in the self-doubt and the all those fears. Oh well, I haven't proven myself out there yet. I dropped out of college to do this. A lot of people second guess all those moves. And how do you I guess make the impressions to go out and raise capital and say, you know what, we're pushing through.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
So I often ask founders what the hardest thing is that's ever happened to them. And I feel like as founders, we've always had some wackadoodle childhood story, or there's some like crazy hardship that we've endured. And that is nothing compared to running a company. And it makes us stronger and it builds our stamina. So when I was in 4th grade, my retinas and my eyes detached and I was legally blind for a year. My mom and dad fought all the time, and I'm an only child, and so I had to listen to them fighting. My mom started turning to alcohol, and that was also problematic. And the reason that those stories are really important are because they built my stamina. And yes, I pull long hours. Yes, it's really hard, but nothing is harder than being blind when you're in 4th grade. And so when I think about how do we manage this and believe, like, how did I believe in myself? We were chatting a little bit about this earlier, Steve, and it's this founder's mentality of like, you have to speak the future for it to be true. And I found myself just saying, yes, we have a product. Yes, we have this, da, 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 da. And like we mentioned, then like you say yes, and then they're like, oh, we want that. And you're like, okay, I'll go make it. And that's what I did for the first 2 years of the company. And one of my business philosophies is never build unless they ask for it. It really will put money behind it. So we have customers all the time saying like, oh, can you do this feature? Can you do that feature? We're like, totally, here's the bill, swipe your credit card here. And then they're like, ugh, and I'm like, okay, well, you really don't want it, so we're not investing in it. And so similarly with raising money, I had to put myself in the future, like 2 years into the future, and pitch that. And I have like in my diary, like me writing, like today I said XYZ. I'm looking forward to the day that it is true. And that's the mentality that I lived in. And now I'm incredibly grateful that we have an operating free vent, patent pending dispenser. I've been pitching that for 2 years. It took 2 years to develop. And like, it's finally true. And you just hustle your ass off to make your vision a reality. So in terms of how do I think about managing expectations, feeling strong within myself, and living with that constant parallax of living in the future versus living in the now, I think it's a lot of the bullshit that happened when I was a child.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and that you hear that common theme out there, but I feel that's so different than the mantra of the fake it till you make it, right? So because you hear a lot of people, always say, oh yeah, fake it till you make it, but that's got a different connotation to it, right? Because you're presenting something that isn't realistic, where what you're talking about is projecting what the future can look like, and then figuring out on the back end, how the hell do we get there? Right?
Oh yeah. In my brain,
awesome.
Everything is real. There's no faking. Like it's all real. It's just not real yet.
Right. So, so with your capital raise, so, did you go out to local angels, first, or did you go straight to VC, or what did your capital management plan, look like?
So I still am some girl from Ohio. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. VC was never a term. I had no idea what a VC was. I had no concept of somebody giving me money for an idea, and like millions of dollars for an idea. Like that was not in my purview. And so I actually started a company when I was in high school. I made buttons and magnets and compact mirrors. And the whole purpose was, for every dollar that I make, I would have to spend half of it on inventory. And so I'll make half back. So like really focused on profit. And that's always where my mindset has been. Like, who would like give me money to lose money? And that was just a concept that was out of this world for me. And so when I started AuntFlow, I was still operating in for every 50 cents that I spend, I have to make $1. And that's how we operated for a year and a half. When we raised money, it was at the time where I got accepted into Techstars New York City program, and I learned about investors. Like we moved to New York City. It was myself and Anne, who's our director of happiness. We moved to New York City for 3 months, and my entire world was blown. Like I had no idea about VC. I didn't understand raising money. At that point, we had roughly $250,000 so for 2018, we did $250,000 of revenue. We raised at the end of 2018, and like $250,000 was enough for me to pay myself and for me to pay Anne a humble salary. And I was like, this is awesome. And like VCs loved that. They were like, oh my God, a company that's actually making money? Like, where? Especially in New York or San Francisco. So we went to Techstars, and that was really where my eyes were opened to the opportunity of raising capital. So at the end of 2018, we raised our seed round, and I did knock on some doors from local VCs, but they saw me grow up. And so they saw all of the, mistakes, whereas the new VCs of New York, they just saw what my pitch deck said. They didn't see the tacky things that were laying here and there, and the Claire knocking on the doors and the Claire being silly and stupid and not having any idea what I was doing for the first 2 years. They saw okay, she's polished, she's cleaned up, she knows what she's doing. And that's how we raised our seed round of $1.5 million. We closed on Christmas Eve of 2018. And we raised that at a $6.5 million post valuation. And then we used that capital to continue to invest. And we went from 100 enterprise customers to 550 enterprise customers in 1 year, from 2018 to 2019. And now we're at over 1,000 enterprise customers.
Awesome. So, that jump up, and we were talking about that kind of before we went live and signed on here, is the microscope in your local ecosystem that you can feel like you're under, right? So whether it's both an internal, and a team thing, because everybody inside the operation knows, okay, we're doing this. We don't have everything figured out yet. So, but on the exterior, or to the outside ecosystems like New York or San Francisco, Austin, whatever, it appears under a different lens. And so, having awareness, for that, and realizing that, startup is chaotic, right? Startups, that's why they're startups. We aren't bureaucratic and have 7 layers to a decision and all that. So, from an internal perspective, how do you manage chaos in the day-to-day and the ever-changing hats that you and your team always have to be ready to put on, right?
When I was in high school, I played the clarinet. I was in the marching band, clarinet, it was kind of, you had to play in the clarinet if you're named Claire. And what band taught me is the about face. You start walking, you put a foot in front of you, you do the 3-step turn, and you turn around. And they also taught me adjust to the situation. Every single day, there's something else that comes up, and you need to about face and adjust to the situation. And I think that's where you got to be. And when there's chaos, everybody on the team knows that I just start laughing. Last night I got a message that started from one of our team members that started out with, "I fucked up, ... but I'm fixing it, ... And I just started laughing. And then, they accidentally shipped 20,000 masks to Minnesota instead of Cincinnati. But when you're shipping millions of masks, things happen. And you just about face, adjust to the situation, and you have to have fun with it. It's this stuff happens all the time. Of course I'm on the Chinese do not fly list now at this point. Of course, I accidentally wired $40,000 to a fake manufacturer when I was first starting out and lost the company $40,000. These are just stories that we tell now, and you have to have an awesome attitude about it.
Gotcha. So, just one question before we open up here to audience questions, everything. So the pivot, did you face any from, whether it's the VCs, the investors, your team, did you face any opposition to that change, and people saying, "Oh, that's great, there might be opportunity, but ride it out," or anything like that?
So we raised, as I mentioned, we raised our seed round at the end of 2019, which is $1.5 million. And then we actually raised our seed plus round in February, and that was $1.2 million. And obviously that was right before all of this happened. Impeccable timing, incredibly grateful. That's one of those luck things. You work so hard that you get lucky. That was that. So we did have the capital to be able to sit there and quote unquote wait it out. And we had, enough runway to be able to, wait it out. But something that softball taught me, and baseball as well, is you rather go out swinging than go out looking. And I take that to heart. It's much more fun to swing and hit a home run than to start looking at the ball and look like an idiot. So that's what we did. We swung, and thankfully we hit the ball, and we're running around the bases right now.
Yeah, well, you know, sports, we're not seeing them, or we're not seeing them live. We're seeing replays right now. So, but you look at a batter's average, right? And, you know, I mean, from whether it be, you know, Jeter back in the day, I'm a Yankees fan, so you'll hear New York references, but Jeter back in the day, or Judge now, you know, and the batting averages, you know what, 0.3 is a great batting average. But in companies, you know, we don't think about it like that. We always feel like we have to, you know, hit 1,000%. And it's,
I
you know,
do
it's
not
tough.
believe that.
So,
I believe as a founder, it's my, like every single day as a founder, we make 112 decisions. And there's no way you can be a 112 out of 112. As you hire people, they're going to be making less decisions, and they better be a 3 out of 3. But for a founder, you're making 112 decisions. And so your goal is to be like a 98 out of 112, not a 3 out of 3. And that's how you get that batting average. And you have to recognize that every single one of them is not going to be perfect, but you're also making like 30 times more than anybody else.
right. So let's we've got a lot of people on here. So let's open it up. If you have questions, go ahead and use the Zoom chat feature. Just put, we'll do a queue. That way you can put that you have a question there. But if someone wants to go ahead and unmute and ask their question to Claire, be happy to.
Hey Claire, it's Julia. I was wondering, I know y'all are a business, so you do a lot of your things to make a profit as well as to help the community with the original message and what you're trying to accomplish. I was wondering if you've tried at all to get involved with the local foundations that are trying to do things like get rid of the luxury tax or the pink taxes on different items.
Glad that you asked. So in terms of our company structure, yes, we are for-profit for good. For every 10 tampons and pads that we sell, we donate 1 to a menstruator in need. We've donated over 500,000 tampons and pads in the past year and a half. So for me, it's not about just the money that you make, it's also the impact that you're making. From a legislation standpoint, we've been like rah, rah, go, 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 go. We haven't necessarily been involved. And the tax on menstrual products is actually relatively difficult for me to get behind. And this is kind of a, you know, controversial opinion that we have as a company. But for us, we always equate tampons and pads to toilet paper, right? It's the basic necessities. And so if a state is taxing toilet paper, probably should also tax menstrual products. The hard part for me is tax does not get at the root of the problem. The root of the problem is tampons and pads aren't covered by WIC or food stamps. So I'm happy to pay the extra 10%. Use that money to, or like tax, whatever it is, use that money to get the products in the middle schools and high schools and to offer the menstrual products on WIC or food stamps. So what's happening is all these states are now eliminating the tax on menstrual products, and they're like, but then as states go back and ask about getting the products in the schools, the legislators are like, well, dude, we just got rid of like $35 million in tax money from this. Like, where do you expect us to get this budget now? So that's one of the difficulties for me to get around the quote unquote tax on menstrual products. So we haven't been active in that space just because it doesn't really make sense to me.
Gotcha. So we've got a question here in the chat windows. Says, how does the owner know when the supply is getting low on the dispenser? Is there a plan for a connected version? Thinking something like Amazon does, where supply gets low and a new order is placed. And then great pivot, by the way, they got goosebumps.
I love it. So connected devices. You know, when we first started out, we did a lot of research. This was one of those things where everybody said they wanted it. And then I showed them the price tag and they were like, oh, I guess I don't really want it anymore. The problem with connected devices in the bathroom There are some large companies, Gojo and Kimberly-Clark, they started the Onvation system, which is connected devices in the bathroom. It allows you to know, as a facilities manager, to know when the toilet paper is running low, the paper towels are running low. That system is incredibly expensive to set up. And the hard part is because we don't have, there's still some limitations in technology, and you have to set up your own modems because no corporation wants you to connect to their own Wi-Fi because there's security breach problems there. And so as a company, we have not done that yet, but it's definitely something that we're looking into. And when we seriously were considering it for this version of our dispenser. At the time, it was still like, hey, you can pay $300 for a dispenser, or you can pay $1,500 to have the connected device feature. And they were like, I guess I don't really want it anymore. So that's how we looked at it.
So maybe a future premium phase when someone's willing
very,
to foot the bill,
very
right?
premium. Yes.
So, SJ put in here, and SJ, you can unmute. We're all about interaction here at 1 Million Cups. So you guys don't have to type your questions out. Simply just say that you want to ask a question if they're building up. But feel free to unmute and ask your questions or compliments in this case directly to Claire.
Hey, Claire, hi. I just typed in the chat box, Claire, that I wanted everyone to know that going back about 4 or 5 years ago, this is not a question, just a big compliment, that I first learned who you were in your very, very early days when you showed interest in my Napoleon Hill inspired mastermind group. And that told me, as the facilitator and the founder of it, that you were a star in the making, because pretty much 0% of our K-12 schools and universities even tell teens, early 20-somethings, that masterminds are even a thing. So kudos to you for showing interest in lifelong learning at a very young age. So big, huge compliment for you.
Thank you, SJ. I will say, when I was starting out, like being a young founder, it's hard to get resources. And actually, when I was in high school, I also had a company, and a lot of the information groups, the networking groups, were 18 plus. So now it doesn't really matter, but I got a fake ID just so that I could go to these networking groups at these bars, and I rolled up as a 16-year-old and flashed my fake ID, not to order alcohol, but simply to get into the meetings. But yes, I'm a huge proponent of trying out all of the different things, checking out the mastermind groups, going to all the networking events, especially when you're starting out. That's how I really was able to build my network of resources for when I had really important questions.
That's awesome. I think that's the first. I haven't heard of somebody getting a fake ID for a networking group, but that's a good use of it, right?
Yeah, just like everybody else does. I met somebody in some like middle school parking lot. I felt like it was the shadiest thing that I was ever doing. And yeah, my name was spelled wrong. The address wasn't written correctly. It was the most crappy fake ID ever, but networking groups don't really look at it all that closely.
Yeah, well, we got Mr. Doyle here chimed in that with our legal disclaimer, 1MC does not condone using fake IDs. But worked for Claire. So,
I don't condone it either, for the record. This is not a statement on behalf of Ant Flow or Workflow.
So, all right. Well, anybody else out there have a question, feel free to unmute and chat with Claire.
I was curious with the connected device comments and how they don't want to pay the cost for it, which makes total sense. How do you, this is a little bit in the weeds, but how do they just alert you when they're low, or how do you tell if they don't have an automated method?
Yeah, so now that we've been in this game for about 3 years, what we're really thankful to have is a large amount of data. So we have been very focused on general reordering trends to understand, based on a company size, subset, employee profile, we can, with 98% accuracy, predict what their ordering cadence will be. And so that's one of our quote unquote competitive advantages that we've been able to develop over the past 3 years.
All right. Any other questions in the audience? Mark, read.
Yeah, sorry.
I will say too. Oh, sorry. I was at a Google conference somewhere, and I saw that in one of the unisex bathrooms, and I thought like, hey, that's from Columbus, so that was really cool. I heard when you said you were in Google, so.
See, Mark, so we got a question here. What drove the decision to manufacture and distribute versus the distribution of other manufactured items?
So why bother to do the whole production and create a whole new thingy when we could just like willy-nilly it out? Yeah, sometimes I ask myself that now that we're 3 years in and developed this whole system thing. But I'm a person that really enjoys the 0 to 1. Like, I love being able to create an end-to-end system that really works. And we created an innovation that wasn't in the industry that was necessary. So for us, this dispenser is really our unique value proposition. So it's designed and patented to only fit our tampons and pads. And so from a lifetime value perspective, we can go to our investors and say, hey, once these people put these dispensers on the wall, they're not moving. We like install them. They have a lifetime warranty as long as they only put outflow menstrual products in it. We have patents around it. So it's pretty secure. And obviously we couldn't do that if we were just getting off the shelf products. So that was the really big focus for how do we create a company that's not just gonna be a brand, but an actual company.
Gotcha. So now that this crisis has forced workflow out of the woodwork, and you have your founder project and your next phase already out, what's next? What are you looking at?
Oh gosh, what's next? Yes. So right now we're hyper focused on listening to our customers. So as I mentioned, we support large office buildings like JLL and CBRE to, local coffee shops and local bars and restaurants. And so right now it's really listening to our customers to understand what they still need. And there's a lot of content right now. Like every single day I'm getting 20 email blasts about back to office, back to work, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, okay, y'all have a lot of content. What do you actually need? What questions do you have that have not been answered in the world right now? And based on that, we're figuring out what's the next step, what next product, what is the next development that we need to have. And that's how we're making our decisions.
So, in the existing structure and what you have as you grow, what needs are there, from a founder's perspective, team perspective? So obviously you got the taking care, you've got the pivoting in the crisis, but then you have to take care of the internal operations. So juggling all that and what that takes, what secret sauce are you using?
Man, the secret sauce, I think, is just a lot of passion and a lot of love and a lot of coffee. There's no secret. It takes a lot of fucking hustle to be able to do these kinds of things. And frankly, I'll go out on a whim and say any menstrual product company could have done this pivot. Nobody else really has. What we had that was different was our agility and the fact that I decided that I wasn't going to sleep for like 7 days straight. So really, that's what it takes. Like, just have a passion, hustle, make it happen. And for me, like as I mentioned, you rather go out swinging than go out looking. And that's like when you're at the edge of a diving board. A lot of people start looking down and psych themselves out and ask too many questions and wonder if it's going to be okay. Whereas when I'm on the diving board, I literally run off the diving board and take a splash. And that was how this whole transition started working.
Gotcha. So you did Techstars up in New York. eye-opening type experience. But you've done a lot of collaboration, whether it be locally or outside. How important do you think, whether it's an accelerator or collaboration with other startups or other founders, has that played a vital role in your success?
Oh, yeah. There's honestly no way to do anything alone. Just like they say it takes a village to raise a kid, if startups are our children, which they basically are. I was joking with Steve, I'm like, for every startup that you have, it probably equates to 2 or 3 kids. And it takes a village to raise a startup. And for me, it's been critical to have that network and support system, and people that challenge me and ask me questions and send me at least like funny gifts throughout the day of like, we got this. And that's how we've been able to keep on moving. And that's why 1 million cups matters too. Yay for the community here.
Yeah, well, and so I was gonna broach that with the, you outside of being, Toledo, Columbus being obviously a big startup ecosystem. You've seen, so you've got money from the we always say the coast, Austin or the Valley. So you've gotten money, from outside of Columbus, but the uniqueness of the Columbus ecosystem, we hear a lot about that in different talks. Not that, other cities aren't great and everything, but do you see something different here than you see in other cities from a startup world or experience?
Man, you're getting all of my like controversial opinions out here. So here's my hot take on Columbus. I think Columbus is an awesome place to start a company, like to start an idea, to take an idea to maybe $1 million in revenue. It's awesome for that. Like you get a lot of early press, you have a lot of early adopters, your community will back you. It's like this wonder story. But there's a lot of like $5,000 to $10,000 grants in Columbus. They come from Sea Change, they come from Columbus Foundation. Like if you're hustling with an idea, they'll probably like, yeah, like we'll give you 5 to 10K. But once you get to that like $1 million in sales point, it's like either drive capital or bust. Like that's it. And that's my hot take for Columbus. I really struggled, like for us, it was critical for us to go to New York and do Techstars New York City because there's like this interesting, horrible gap between the 0 to 1 and the, 20 to plus, because that's where we were at. And where we're still kind of sitting. And so that's the one struggle that I've personally experienced. And I hope, and this is my challenge to the folks that are on this call, how can we fill that gap?
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. So, and we definitely, we're all about authenticity. And I think your brand is all about authenticity. Your charisma is very authentic, and that helps. But, here in Columbus, I see the same thing. I think we've got a shortfall in the lack of big capital, the lack of having the competition amongst capital. So, you go out to Boston and you pitch an idea, it's not drive capital or bust. It's, hey, you got to compete against 6 other people if you want this deal. And that changes the dynamic. And I think we're starting to get there. We recognize the importance of both early stage capital and then growth capital. Drive's got a lot of great partnerships out there with the different makers in the space, but we need 10 Rev ones, in Columbus. Each one's going to have their own niche and whatnot that they follow, and we need more access to capital for the startup people. So for the initial seed and growth and that risk taking. But then also that growth. So no, I think you're spot on.
And I have one more hot take on this too. Just because we're based in the Midwest does not mean that VCs get a discount on us. There's like no discount for the Midwest.
Right.
That's a whole bunch of hoopla. There's entire funds set up as with their thesis of we're gonna invest in the Midwest because it's a discount. Like, baloney. So there's my other hot take.
There you go. We're getting it all. So. All right. Well, before we wrap up for the day, is there any last questions that you have for Claire? All right. So I'm getting stuff, but it's private. Hang on. I might have some here. Um,
And Steve, just so you know, I do have a hard stop at 10, but I can take
Yep.
if there's like one more question.
Yeah, no. So we'll get this one last question, then we'll do. So, how many iterations did you have to go through for your current version of the device before the latest version became final?
Oh my God, like so many iterations. We literally started as a 3D printed box with an acrylic plastic sticker on it to test our concept of will companies purchase menstrual products to offer them for free in their bathrooms. And then we moved to like a plastic box, and then we moved to an acrylic plastic dispenser. And then we had our first iteration of our dispenser that had like a 60% accuracy rate in terms of like you press the button and you only get a tampon 60% of the time. That was not good. And so this is like, oh my God, I'm constantly iterating. I'm just like this butterfly that just keeps getting put back into their cocoon and like trying to bust out of it again.
Gotcha. Okay. So, well, we can't thank you enough, Claire. Thank you for taking time out of your busy and chaotic time, especially during these. We know it's kind of 24/7 right now with dealing with manufacturing overseas and then customer supply here and whatnot. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being real, honest, and providing a lot of great insights for founders and aspiring entrepreneurs. So with that, we will wrap it up for this week. We do have next week, we are actually joining forces with our friends up in Cleveland. So they are going to be hosting. So we will send out the invite to their Zoom, and we will have Mo, who has presented down in Columbus before, but obviously things change daily with startups. So Mo with You, the Brain Company, will be presenting at the Cleveland 1MC. So Columbus is going to tagline on there. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks to Claire for giving all her insights, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Stay safe.